It's episode 326 on December 6th, 2021 of Canadian Patriot Podcast. This is John McDonald with Music and the Truth Until Dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. It's shortly after 9 o'clock Canadian, and another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the line, this is your song.
And we'd love to have your feedback about the show. So please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
We need your help to support the show. Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit CanadianPatreon.com. Or no, fuck. I need to read. I need to start reading something else. This is like the fourth week I've fucked it up. Visit patreon.com/CPP. Become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1. Show you're not a communist and buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
I enjoy that we're like 100 episodes with that intro, and Pierre's done 4 or 5 of them in a row, and like still creating new ways to
just straight up fuck it up.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, like, as the guy that's done a lot of intros, I have certainly had my share of creative snafus.
I would love to go back in time. Well, maybe not even back in time, but just go back and catalog them all and see how many you've actually got right and how many you have creatively reinterpreted.
Right. So if you have that kind of free time and energy and a certain placement on the spectrum, other Andrew, I'm looking at you, bud. If you want to go through and like make me a greatest hits album of all the times I've screwed up the intro to the show, feel free. I'm not listening to 326 episodes of this nonsense.
I've already listened to them. I don't want to do it again.
I participated in most of them, and I don't want to do it again.
Yeah, I hear that.
There's a reason why we drink, which, as a segue, brings me to go back. Well, I'm sure we've had our share of good ones, but I was trying to segue into what are we drinking. So why don't we go clockwise on my screen? We'll start with Pierre. Pierre, what are you drinking?
Brandy.
Is that her stripper name or her given name?
Yes.
Depends what day of the week.
Good stuff. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking something a little different this evening. Not too different, though, because change is terrible. I'm drinking Crown Royal Northern Harvest Rye and Diet Pepsi this evening.
Well, there is only 2 things I hate. The way things are and change. And the Dutch.
Carnies, small hands, smell like cabbage.
Fair enough. I am drinking Muskoka Brewery's Winterbeard, a double chocolate cranberry stout. Tastes like Christmas. I mean, kind of. I think next week is probably going to taste more like Christmas, because my favorite Christmas beer is back in the store.
No,
the figgy pudding one? That one?
No, that's Dave's favorite Christmas beer. My favorite Christmas beer is from Lion's Head Brewery. The only good thing to come from Vancouver.
It's a good thing they made it all before the floods.
Well, I saw some, but I didn't want to miss out this year, so I got a couple. So we want to remind everybody to be participating in the Patriot Challenge. It's against yourself, but also against everyone else. If you're on social media, you should go on our website and grab the template and share it with your friends or your enemies. Or, I mean, as the saying goes, there are 2 wolves inside of us. One of them is per second OPSEC and doesn't tell anyone what's going on, and the other one shitposts directly on the RCMP Facebook page.
Facts.
So, if you want to go on social media and tag the RCMP, I think that would be funny. Yeah. Tagging CSIS also would be funny.
I'm down.
Yeah. Tell him Andrew sent you.
Yeah, you just drop my name. They know who I am. It's fine. Patriot Challenge, 5 things every day. Be a better person, specifically a better Canadian, but a better person generally. It's universally applicable. Exercise for 45 minutes. Practice a skill for 10 minutes. Read a book for 15 minutes because literacy is important. Drink 2 liters of water, if nothing else, more bathroom breaks. And complete 1 task to improve your life because you should always be improving your position. I mean, you should always be improving your fighting position, but position generally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Section 74 challenges, of course, are ongoing. Fighting the government's arbitrary and needless firearms laws against legal gun owners is expensive. And we should send the money so that they can afford good lawyers. Because we're also paying for the Crown attorneys and everyone else involved in the process.
But at least,
On to...
but
It's worth
I mean,
paying for
the
once.
money
It's
we're-
worth paying for twice.
Well, see, the nice thing about going to the GoFundMe is you can actually put your funds where you want your money to go, where your mandated government theft automatically pays for the bullshit. So you might as well throw some money that the overlords allow you to keep and throw it towards a good cause.
Well, I mean, maybe we've talked about that before. Maybe it's worthwhile to get Pierre's opinion on this because there was a lot of COVID stuff in the news, and I don't really want to do a ton of COVID stuff, but that's what's in the news. So, Pierre, if you were the king of Canada, and maybe a hereditary monarchy is not your preferred system of government, but if you were in charge of things,
Yes.
how would you divvy out the tax dollars?
So we wouldn't be taking as much, and we wouldn't have a Senate where you only have to sit in six meetings a year, and then you can collect over $100,000. You wouldn't have people that do a 4-year term as governor general, and then get what's the word I'm looking for? Other than a crap load of money. But they get you can write stuff off, charge account, or not a charge account, but you get the
corporate credit
Yeah.
card, but it's just basically it comes out of your pocket,
Yeah.
not their pocket. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like there's so much bullshit money getting thrown around for useless shit, and it just drives me nuts, and it's unbelievable, right? Like I had a conversation with two of my employees that I work with. I showed them one of my Fuck Trudeau shirts, and one of the employees was like, "I love Trudeau," and I was like, "This conversation stops here before I get in trouble with HR."
Yeah.
But we started talking about and they were like, "Oh, schools, this, that, and everything," and I started breaking stuff down. Right, I've listened to some episodes, and I was like, do you know how much you pay in taxes for your, everybody loves going to the hospital and not having to pay anything. I was like, but do you understand the concept of how much of your money goes into that system, right? The healthcare system. I'm like, and it still takes you months and months and months to get in. My wife had to go get checked for cancer. It was like a fucking 9-month waiting list. Like, what the fuck is this? Like 9 months from now could make a life and death, or where treatment is an option and not an option, right? Like, and I'm like, it should go privatized. I was like, I'll pay out of pocket, hands down. And they're like, why? And I'm like, the amount of money we spend on it and the amount of shit service we get is unbelievable. I'm like, if you want to go get tested for anything, right? You feel like your hormones are off. I was like, because it's all government funded, the government has set these guidelines. And if you don't meet that guideline, you don't get to go for that. Whether you think that's true because you've done your own research or whatever. So I don't know. I'd make $100,000 a year, fire everybody else, and keep the rest of your fucking money. That's my vote.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
I'm supportive. All right. So
Like,
some news.
it's
We've got lots of COVID nonsense because that is what is in the news this week.
You remember when the news cycle was 2 weeks long, not 2 years long?
Yeah, well, just 2 more weeks.
We're almost
to
at 2
flatten
weeks.
the curve.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've got 2 things to compare and contrast. We're gonna start with True North news. I know, but just go with it. It's fine. unvaccinated migrants being welcomed into Canada at Roxham Road. And the follow-up story is unvaccinated Canadians can be banned from grocery stores in New Brunswick. And I shudder to say this, but there's a better article on the CBC. So the more detailed article from the CBC about the New Brunswick thing, NB COVID-19 roundup winter plan goes into effect Saturday night. 2 deaths and 97 new cases
Since Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll come back to the CBC thing, but the CBC part is important because I'm sure the people at True North News are doing their very best. I think this is a Harley Sims article, and I feel bad about her relationship with the Joker, but like, the journalism is just not as solid as it could be.
Well, I mean, that's probably because they're not getting the big bucks from the government to pay for the good journalists.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, the CBC article is also like hot garbage, but
Yeah, but there's a lot of info. Like, it's a very
there's a lot more information buried in the pile of shit that is the CBC.
Yeah,
it's not good information and it's not useful information, but there's a lot of information.
Right, and as we know, I love metrics, so we're going to go with the metric-heavy article. But I wanted to contrast these two things. So the Canadian Border Services Agency has confirmed that unvaccinated illegal border crossings are being allowed at Roxham Road in Quebec again. Because at one point last year, the government prevented illegal border crossings at Roxham Road.
Oh, so you mean actually did their job for a little bit?
Well, and that's part of the, like, as an aside, why are we allowing illegal border crossings? But we've talked about Roxham Road before, and we've talked about my feelings about how the CBSA should not be allowing irregular migrants to enter the country illegally or otherwise to enter the country. But if you decide to enter the country illegally at a land border crossing that is not a recognized port of entry in Quebec, you don't need to show your vaccine papers.
Or any papers.
You need to claim asylum and or have an exemption from the Safe Third Country Act, which, for those of you out there in podcast land, Quebec touches America. Which is, by every fucking definition of the word, a safe third country. Yes, I also don't like President Biden. Yes, I also am not a fan of the pedophilia and the kid touching and the sniffing and the so on.
Yeah.
But in terms of the Safe Third Country Act, we Canadians should not be, under any circumstances, accepting asylum from people in America. Because they are, while I make fun of them for being a third world country with iPhones and nuclear weapons, they meet the definitions of a safe country.
Yeah.
No one is getting loaded into cattle cars or put into gulags, or this isn't Australia.
Yeah.
Yet.
Well,
if anything, they're leaving the safe country and coming into the country where that's very likely to happen, at least potentially in New Brunswick, if they're not vaccinated. But they can come into the country, no problem. That's fine.
But
I find this very upsetting. The government had at one point
did we open it back up to like people that have lived in the US for like 15 years? Or is it
they just need to be seeking asylum. It doesn't specify under what conditions or how, just that they need to have an asylum claim.
Yeah, so then they can double illegally enter the country. Because like right now, no one can enter the country that's not either a citizen, has special permission to do so, or is vaccinated. So these people are entering without permission, and they're not citizens, and they're not vaccinated. And then they're doing it at an illegal crossing. So they're double breaking the law.
I am continually disappointed by our government, and this is another example of how and why I am disappointed by our government, because if I, as a Canadian citizen, were to somehow leave the country and then try to re-enter the country, I would have to submit to showing my vaccine paperwork, a PCR test, possible government mandatory quarantine, home quarantine, or other place in which I can quarantine. The assumption is it would be my home because I have one of those. and I need to have another test at 8 days, stay home for 14, and then I can resume whatever it is that I do when I'm not under quarantine. But don't worry, I get to pay my taxes and stuff the whole time.
Yeah.
See,
But this is all predicated on the... Sorry, go ahead here.
So that's the problem, right? You normally live here. You own a home. You were able to fly. You've got lots of money. You don't have to prove anything. If you forgot your ID and everything.
Interesting little fun fact. Say I wasn't a person who had my vaccination paperwork or wasn't willing to show my vaccination paperwork on re-entry into this country. Well, actually, a step prior to that, I would not be able to leave the country because our exceptionally brilliant federal government has mandated that I am not allowed to leave if I am not double vaccinated.
You can't even eat inside of a restaurant.
Well, private business part aside, which is its whole own ball of wax. I, a tax-paying citizen with a Canadian passport, could have difficulty transiting between provinces in this country and am specifically forbidden from leaving the country unless I receive all of my COVID vaccines and show the government agents copies of that paperwork in order to leave the country. But people coming here illegally from America to claim asylum are allowed in.
Yeah. Makes total sense.
Honk fucking honk.
See, but you're also trying to apply logic to it.
I know.
I think that's where you're getting
confused. And this is the parallel I want to draw. Maybe parallel is the wrong word. The compare and contrast. So New Brunswick, in their infinite wisdom, I have unkind things. I have some good things to say about New Brunswick, but I also have a lot of unkind things to say about New Brunswick. Yeah. New Brunswick is going into their winter plan because they're currently in level purple or something. I think they're actually calling it level 1. I think is their.
They have level 1, 2, 3.
Right. So level 1 is a reasonably restriction-free existence. Show your paperwork and go into restaurants.
Yeah.
Have gatherings of your steady 20. Have 50-person informal outdoor gatherings, but not formal. Remember, if it's after 3 in the afternoon, it's top hat and tails, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Formal gatherings only.
Funny hats and dresses for everyone.
Unvaccinated residents should avoid those informal indoor gatherings. Masks are required for outdoor public spaces where physical distancing can't be maintained. Malls, grocery stores, salons can enforce physical distancing instead of requiring proof of vaccination. Beer. Travelers returning to the province have to register or use a multi-use pass, which is part of their vaccination passport system that they have. And unvaccinated people entering the province of New Brunswick need to take a test, and again on day 14. So on entry, and then again 10 days later. So, a whole bunch of rules around level 1 in New Brunswick. As part of the winter plan, New Brunswick has decided to allow some of these businesses to add additional levels, if they so choose. Malls, grocery stores, and salons, particularly, which we touched on before as part of level 1. So as part of level 1, malls, grocery stores, salons have to enforce physical distancing or require proof of vaccination status from all patrons. I take some exception to the proof of vaccination piece.
Yeah.
We are now at a position where individual businesses in New Brunswick can decide who they serve or don't based on their medical status. Which there could be pros and cons to, but that's a pretty spicy take on the AIDS pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, my mistake. We're only doing it to people that might have COVID because they don't have the COVID vaccine. So if you get your COVID vaccine in New Brunswick, you can definitely go to the grocery store because you can't give everyone else. No, if you get your COVID vaccine, you can still give everyone else COVID.
You probably don't
If you
even
get
know
your
that you
COVID
have
vaccine,
it.
you definitely can't catch it at the. No, you can
Oh,
still
yeah.
get it at the grocery store. So
But to,
I'm
to
not
all
really
these
sure what New
restrictions-
Brunswick is getting at, but it seems to me. Sorry, go ahead, Pierre.
No, but all these restrictions, like I don't have to wear a mask. I can have a gathering of 800 people in my house if I have my vaccine, right?
Still got to have a mask. Still
okay.
not more than. Well,
Yeah.
it depends on if it's a
They don't
formal
got
or
much going
informal
for it.
gathering. So if you're wearing a
Yeah.
top hat and tails, it can. I suppose it could be more because that would be a formal gathering. They don't say what the rules are for formal gatherings, only for informal gatherings. Although
Yeah.
the 20 people for informal gatherings replacing the current steady 20 restriction, which is silly because I don't know. I guess Maritimers can't figure out who their 20 close contacts are that are over at their house regularly. So when you go to a different kitchen party every week, I guess that causes a problem.
Yeah. But yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
basically the grocery stores and other places that are going to be allowed to do this either have the option of having a reduced capacity, which I'm not sure what that capacity is because it's whatever they're allowed with social distancing, I guess. Or they could have full capacity and everyone has to show their papers.
Their papers to prove that they've gotten the
The
experimental gene
gene
therapy
Yeah.
that doesn't prevent you from catching or transmitting the
Yeah.
endemic disease.
Yeah, but has like a 60% chance of lessening the symptoms. Yeah, that thing.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's starting to make sense. I get it.
I mean, the problem with the whole thing, though, like, I mean, and I think everyone's going to maybe take this out of context when I say it, but like, in a way, this new twist to the rule is brilliant because it allows the government to force people that are unvaccinated sort of further to push them into getting that because it's like, well, shit, now I can't even get groceries. But it also absolves them of, the whole thing because it's like, well, we didn't say that you couldn't go in the grocery store. It's the grocery store that's stopping you from getting it.
I wonder about this piece because if Global Homo has taught us anything, it is that there are people in the HR department that are willing to comply extra hard just to show how woke they are.
Yeah.
And again, I have been to New Brunswick, and for the right amount of money, I'd be willing to go back to New Brunswick. But I don't know. It seems to me that most grocery stores in New Brunswick, in Atlantic Canada, are the same as the rest of Canada, that they're predominantly chains mostly owned by Loblaws.
Probably, yeah.
So it seems to me that there is likely some blue-haired person with problem glasses that works in the corporate government affairs department in Loblaws that is not only willing to embrace this new standard from the government, but they are willing to enforce it exceptionally hard because it improves their social status.
Yeah. Tread harder, Daddy. Tread harder.
Well, this is my concern, though. So if you're in a small town in New Brunswick, and I don't know what a good example of that is, Miramichi? I don't know if Miramichi's actually that small. I just know it's a government call center because they deal with my firearms license. I don't know. I'm sure there must be small communities in New Brunswick, as there are in other parts of Canada. If they only have one or two grocery stores, Blue Mountains is probably a good example of that in our neck of the woods. There is one grocery store. So if that one grocery store, which is part of a chain of grocery stores, decides to enforce this vaccine passport, and you now have to drive several hours to get to the next closest grocery store, is that not cause an issue? Because you're preventing people from obtaining basic services and buying food? I mean, they're not vaccinated, so I mean, maybe they're not really people, but...
Yeah, but it's for the greater good.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, and what's New Brunswick's compliance rate right now? I mean, above 80%.
I don't know about New Brunswick specifically, but Canadians between the ages of 18 and I think it's 45 to 50 is the demographic group is like 80%. It's 86%.
Yeah.
Sum total of the population over the age of, I think it's 18. I think it's 86% if they're over 18, sum total of the population. I think that the demographic for 18 to, I think it's 45 or 50 is 80%.
So yeah,
So-
we'll say somewhere between 80 and 90 to be safe, somewhere in that. So like 10 to 20% of their population is not.
Right. And again,
I mean,
being double, triple,
yeah.
octuply vaccinated does not prevent you catching or spreading
Yeah.
the COVID.
But like,
so why is the grocery store preventing people from, or in a position where they're able to prevent people from
but
buying
exactly. But you know that
food
they
and essential services?
you know they will though, because of that blue-haired person in HR that wants to tread harder and all the things to get the social status and everything. And when really it's a monetary thing, it's like, well, we can have full capacity when we do this, and really, what are we going to do? Piss off 20% of the population at most, that at some point are going to need to come back to us anyways to buy groceries? Like, where's the incentive for them not to follow through on this, other than if they're like a small independent retailer that doesn't want to piss off their local community?
So,
Well, and I think that's the balance. And I can see this. If this was in Ontario and it was happening in Toronto, I'd be like, yeah, every grocery store in Toronto is going to require vaccine passports to go get food, because it's Toronto.
Yeah.
But like Blue Mountains, that grocery store, the Nectals or whatever it is going to be like, whatever, meat's on sale this week, guys. Have you seen our 2-for-1 hot dog bun special?
Yeah.
Like I don't know enough about New Brunswick to know one way or the other. But it seems to me that this is a very slippery slope that they are going to go down.
Well, and the problem, the other problem though is, I agree, absolutely slippery slope that allows them to start doing this to many other things. And if it goes well in New Brunswick, you damn sure know that all the other provinces are going to do with it. And I'm all for the letting business decide what business wants to do, because I too follow Austrian economics. But like,
I used to be on that train.
it needs to work both ways though. That's the problem.
So this is the problem. And I mean, again, recovering libertarian here, right? I agree with the principles of Austrian economics, and I get what you're saying, Gavin. And if we let business owners run their businesses and suffer those consequences, I'd probably be pretty on board with that. But we either have too much or not enough government regulation at this point. We're in a position where the government is giving all of these individuals additional power and discretion to discriminate against identifiable groups. And in any other circumstances, that would be unacceptable. Again, taking, for example, if I were to say, okay, prove to me you do not have AIDS. Oh, I am only catering to people that are taking their PrEP medicine for AIDS. Well, I don't engage in homosexual activity. I wouldn't have PrEP. Okay, but it doesn't harm you to take the drugs, so you should be okay to show us that you have a prescription for this, and then you can take it and show us that you're not going to spread this to other people. Well, I'm not having sex with people in your grocery store, so I'm not likely to spread this communicable disease to them. So, like, I'm very torn here with, like, we have the wrong level of regulation at some point, and I'm undecided if we have too little or too much, but we have the wrong amount. Yeah. And I'm beginning to think we don't have enough regulation, and the type of regulation we need is maybe, I mean, to Pierre's earlier point with the medicine as an example, like, we have a modern healthcare system that we don't have access to, generally speaking. Well, because if you wanted to get your wife checked for cancer, you're on a 9-month waiting list. If I want to get my son checked to see if he has RVS or whatever the hell the respiratory diseases we thought he had the other week, my family physician will not see him. Go get a COVID test. Okay, I don't care if he has COVID test. I need to find out if he has fluid in his lungs or not, and I need somebody that's professional to listen to his fucking breathing. So, I'm going to end up going to jail over that particular physician, because one of us is not going to...
Yeah, it's like, if you want to swab his nose while you listen to his chest at the same time, go right the fuck ahead. But
give me a fucking appointment so somebody with a stethoscope that knows how to use it can listen to this, because it sounds wrong to me.
Yeah.
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 I'm just curious, right? Let's say all these unvaxxed people know someone that is vaxxed and is willing to do their groceries for them. And let's say for like a whole month, right? No unvaxxed people get in stores or get anywhere. Like they can't even go get gas, right? Fine, they pay someone to fill up jerry cans. And if the numbers go up, whose fault is it?
Well, clearly the people that are still unvaccinated because
the case count, the almighty case count, big line go up. Well, I guess it's not big line because that's more stock market thingy, but New Brunswick is an example. 97 new cases. Oh my God, we're probably all going to be, well, just fine because we've been fine. Just
How many flu cases have they had this year?
I don't know, but I remember last year we had this conversation and the flu was effectively eradicated.
yeah, we finally cured it, guys.
Well, and you know the saying, happy wife, happy life. I went along with mine recently to get my flu shot. And I don't like getting my flu shot because every time historically that I've gotten a flu shot, I've gotten sick. And I know it's anecdotal and I know maybe it's psychosomatic or whatever. But the only time since the COVID pandemic started that I have been like violently ill was like 48 hours after getting my goddamn flu shot this year.
Yes.
And I mean, my son was also sick with a respiratory illness and there's other things going on. And I get it. Children are like a petri dish for diseases.
Yeah.
And
But worse though, because they have legs and they move.
Well, I don't know. This is the first time in several years I've gotten my flu shot to try and have a harmonious home. And this is the first time in several years that I've gotten violently ill as a result.
Well,
and again,
just make sure that next year when she does that, just remember.
Oh, I took a selfie.
Look after me. You have to look after me.
Date stamped and everything, ready to send it to her the next time that we have to have that conversation. Because for the first time in several years, having gotten my flu shot, I got sick within 2 days, and like to the point where I had to like take time off work again and stuff. Which the first day that I've been off sick since this pandemic started. Because
it's a good thing you've got those 10 mandated sick days. Oh wait, you're not a federal employee. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I just had to take unpaid time off because that's how my work goes.
Yeah, fun.
Well, it is what it is, or so I'm told. On the topic of being a federal employee or other types of employees, this is on Routers. It ended up in a bunch of news, CTV, CBC. Everybody was rerunning it. I just went to the original. It's on Routers. Canadian employers facing labor shortage accommodate the unvaccinated. Quoi?
Oui. Bonjour.
Maybe they wouldn't have a labor shortage if they.
Well, so this is there's more than a little bit to unpack with this one. So COVID vaccination being mandatory for a number of large employers and industries, airlines, police forces, school boards, banks, Canada Post, so on and so forth. There are quite a few industries that have mandated that you must show me your papers. And as a result of this, and remember, we've already discussed this, 80% of people in the working age population have their 2 vaccines. There is a labor shortage in this country because we have a 4% unemployment rate. Now, I'm no mathematologist, as we have discovered in the past. But it seems to me that if we have a 4% unemployment rate and 80% vaccination rate of the percentage of the population that is in the workforce, we should not have a difficult time filling open positions.
So does that mean I'm part of the 16%?
I mean, it's entirely possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
potentially
100%
don't
of the
have my
people on the
papers.
panel tonight could be 16%.
Well,
Yeah, could potentially. Well, be. I'll get
So
back.
this is, well, so the head of the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses says that it's already hard to find staff, and then you add a vaccination mandate, and you're cutting out 20% of the workforce. Okay, I'm on board with this. So far
Yeah.
so good.
Yep.
but
And there are issues. So if you're a company that decides to employ unvaccinated employees in a setting where you're, and I admit that I am fortunate to work in information technology and I work from home. I have been to the office 4 times in the however long the lockdown's been going, 19 months now. And some of those times was literally just to move equipment because we couldn't find anybody less qualified than me to do it. They're like, pick up heavy thing, put over there. And I was like, yes, sir, you got it, no problem. Right? Because having no one in the office is a convenient time to have all your labs repainted and all the electrical systems looked at and everything, and
clean the
put in new
carpets,
carpet because there's no, So we went through a bunch of that. So they were like, well, the least qualified person we can find is this guy who's not an engineer. So pick up heavy box, take to other side of building, put heavy box down. And I was like, doesn't matter to me.
I get paid all the
Pick up
same.
box, dig ditch, write report, file engineering drawing. Don't. $20 is $20. I don't care.
Yeah.
So had we not been moving things in our offices and whatever, I would have been in the office twice instead of 4 times in the last almost 2 years.
Yeah.
There is a stigma now with unvaccinated employees being in places with vaccinated employees because we might spread the Rona. Which, again, like, as discussed, you can be triple vaccinated and still catch or transmit the communicable disease. But that's enough about AIDS.
Not even that. You could even die from.
I mean...
Very unlikely, yes. Whether you are or not, very unlikely. But even if you've had 3 jabs already, you could still, you just
just
as much as winning the lottery.
You just need your second booster shot.
Well, so I saw that come out that the Americans now are on their, if you're over 50, the FDA has said like 3rd booster good to go, or third shot, 1st booster good to go. Israel last week said 4th booster good to go, and also your green pass is no longer good. So the green pass is the Israeli vaccine passport system. So you must have all of these things, but in Canada we have a deficit of employees, and we're blaming it on the 20% of the population that is unvaccinated, even though we have a 4% unemployment rate.
Yeah, some
we're
of those
blaming
numbers
Something
just
doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Are we blaming the 4% or the 16%?
I thought we were blaming
I'm not
the
sure
1%,
which, but yes.
I'll have my people call your people. We'll figure this out.
Well, and I mean, calling your people, a bunch of our people, I assume these are show listeners.
Yes.
Quebec has backtracked on vaccine mandates for healthcare workers.
Mhm.
There was an injunction this week for the University Health Network in Toronto for their healthcare workers. TD and BMO have both relaxed their vaccine policies because a large number of employees have not met the end of October deadline that they had. Now, I mean, Toronto Police did lay off 240 employees. It doesn't say they were all sworn police officers, but the assumption is the majority of them would have been. So Toronto Police laid off 240 staff due to this. But don't worry. Going to one of the larger school boards in Ontario, one of the larger school boards in the country, in fact. This is on CTV News. Ontario School Board hiring hundreds of uncertified teachers because of staffing shortage, which sounds a little crazier than it is.
I know.
Durham
When I saw
District
that,
School...
I thought I was going to be a fucking teacher. I'll
You,
take it.
I mean, you may as well apply. There were several hundred other candidates. I would go to Professor Pierre's woodshop class. So Durham region, I guess, pardon me, not region, Durham District School Board is hiring several hundred. They have not described exactly how many hundred. Unqualified, pardon me, uncertified. There's a distinction. Uncertified substitute teachers. I don't know how many teachers are in Durham. I tried to look it up. I couldn't find a figure with how many actual... I could figure out how many employees they have, but I couldn't figure out how many teachers they had. So Durham District School Board has gotten 400 applications to fill their substitute teacher roles. And the requirements are effectively you must have or are working on a university degree.
All right.
That's it. I mean, they say that there's going to be extreme vetting, but these are exceptional circumstances, and they're going to carefully vet these applicants because they need hundreds of substitute teachers.
So do you have to be working on a university degree to become a teacher, or just the university
Just
degree?
a degree. Just a university degree.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be teaching kids real fucking soon. I'm gonna do some online stuff. I'm gonna be teaching kindergartners.
I mean, I support this plan. I am baffled by, like, I realize we're doing online school, and I'm like, I have almost as many gripes with the education system as I do with the healthcare system. But
We're
like,
not starting.
what the actual fuck? Hundreds of substitute teachers. How many teachers do we need to have substitute teachers for? Like, I have no idea what the ratio is, but like, I'm just trying to think back to like the before times when I was in, like, say, high school, and I can kind of remember some of that stuff. I think I can count on one hand the number of times I had a substitute teacher in 4 years.
Yeah. It happened enough that you remember it, but like not that often, really.
Right. And I like, and maybe schools near Toronto are different than schools where I grew up, but I don't remember seeing a lot of substitute teachers. Yeah, there were some. And I definitely remember, yeah, we had a couple, and there was probably a week where I remember my grade 9 French teacher was like out for like a week. And all we did was watch the hobo video when the fucking pineapple guy.
Yeah.
So like, I learned just as much French as I would have had she been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but so how many schools in this district, and are they talking only high school, or is middle school still a thing now, or is it all like primary school and then high school? Like,
I'm not super positive on how Durham does it, but I believe that they divide it up into elementary, so grades junior kindergarten, really grade 1 through grade 8, and then high school, grades 9 through 12.
Okay,
now I mean,
here
maybe
here it's backwards. Elementary is 6, and then high school is 7 to 12 in some cases, right? So how many
maybe
schools,
there are
how many
exceptions to that in
classes?
Durham, and right. So, but like, if it's like other parts of Ontario, like let's assume it's elementary and high school, 1 to 8, 6 to 12. Maybe there's middle schools in there somewhere, or what you'd be used to as elementary schools. And I guess what do you call it when it's 1 to 6? Then primary.
Yeah, primary.
Yeah.
Like I went primary, then I went intermediate, which was only 7, 8, and then I went to high school.
Yeah. I did 1 to 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then 9 to 13. But my middle school.
Well, that's because you're old.
Yeah, my middle school though had like several feeder schools, like they all do, right? Like your schools kind of seem to get bigger as you get older. but there were some people that didn't come in until 7 and 8. So there was a couple of schools that had like 1 to 5, and then some had 1 to 6, just to make it more confusing. So even within sometimes a school board area, sometimes they do things differently for different spots and everything else. And it doesn't make any sense because our education system is messed up.
Well, and that might be the case here as well. I don't know one way or the other. And I tried to look up to see how many employees they had, got mad and gave up.
Well, yeah, like as you know, someone that was in the GTA, you know, I remember, having maybe a couple of times a year, if that much, a substitute teacher. But like more often than not, it was like your teacher couldn't make it in one day here or there, but it almost always ended up being the same substitute teacher, regardless of what the class was. So like there couldn't have been that many of them, right? Like, or that they were needed that frequently if you always end up getting the same person over and over and over again.
All right, so I found it for Durham region. They cover 136 schools total, elementary and secondary is how their breakdown works.
And they need hundreds of substitutes.
Yeah, 22 of those are secondary schools, high schools, or they're listed as collegiate vocational institutes, secondary schools, and high schools. One is also a continuing education, which, sure. So 22 flavors of high schools.
Two teachers at least per school all the time.
Per day.
Yeah.
Well, that seems to be how it breaks down. So in 114 primary schools of various flavors. They all seem to be listed as primary schools, and I'm not going to look them all up. Although, hey, Bobby Orr is one of the primary schools, so go hockey. Come on, I knew a hockey player, guys. There's going to be people on YouTube that are super excited about that.
Yeah, but he's like a really famous one.
Whatever, I knew a hockey player. Come on.
That's true. I'll give you that one.
I don't even watch hockey. So.
Oh man, they have a Chris Hadfield in Whitby? That's awesome. That guy's an astronaut.
Where?
And also an MP.
Where? He's also a member of my swanky club.
Oh, is he now? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we might have to...
His photo's up on the wall and everything.
I went to a school named after an astronaut, Mark Garneau.
Oh, there you go. When I was a space cadet, because that's a thing in the Air Cadet program, we have an aerospace program. I was in the Garneau Agency.
Yeah. Funny story. I did Army Cadets. I was in a pigeon. And
wow.
and I think it was my third year. I applied for CL or CLI for the summer camps, 6-month course. Or 6-week course, sorry, not 6 month. And somehow they lost my application. So commanding officer made a few phone calls or whatever.
So the little kid army is as messed up as the adult army. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't have to pay for anything though. So it's not that bad. But
that's good.
But yeah, no, I ended up, they said, well, the only course we can get them on was the space course in Saint-Jean-Richelieu. Valcartier.
Oh, so you went to Saint-Jean, so you were at Saint-Jean, same as me.
Yeah, I went there for their space one for 3 weeks or whatever, and I was with a bunch of pigeons. Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. I was the only army guy.
Maybe you guys were there at the same time and you just didn't know it.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
it was not a big class.
No.
It was not a big class.
Yeah, no, I think we were less than 20. And it was a 3-week course, and yeah, it was kind of nerdy but cool at the same time. And then when I got back, I wasn't much of a nerd, and I skimmed by that course because there was a lot of theory stuff. But yeah, funny enough, yeah, I did the exact same course.
Oh, well, I had a slightly different experience because I'm a massive nerd. I ended up as the course senior, and we had 3 flights of cadets when I was there. I want to say it was 4 weeks, not 3, but I could be wrong. Somebody correct me I will get, because I'm still in touch with people I went on a course with. I will ask and see if anybody remembers what our dates were. I feel like we were there for a month.
You are a nerd.
I was there for the 3 weeks.
Whatever,
I was
man.
just there
I
for
spent a
3
summer building model rockets and not paying for shit. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well,
I learned how to
I-
parlez-vous français. I can order all of my meals in French.
oh, there you go.
Bière?
That and just to,
Des oufs, des patates.
your accent is incredible.
Well, whatever.
But I did Army Cadets. I went to Germany for a summer, and I didn't pay for anything, including my
see,
flight there, my flight back,
Germany
my-
sounds better than
my
Just
3
going to
meals a
Quebec.
day, my housing. Only thing I paid for was whatever I wanted to buy outside of my 3 meals and bring back home. I went there for it was 3 weeks. I went there, but I spent the summer we did before training, and then after we just hung around for a week or whatever. So yeah, it was pretty good.
There you go.
Cadets is not a bad program. I mean, it's gotten kind of
Well,
it's gotten kind of
it's
like
not as good as it once
liberal
was. And I mean,
gay?
like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's the new army.
yeah.
yeah, like I know someone who does they're a CIC officer for the Army Cadets, and I had to go meet them
Lame.
there. Yeah, and I had to go there to meet them for something. I was dropping something off, and they were like, cool. And they had a bunch of people. They were doing a drill practice for something they were doing, and they had a few. I was like, man, it's been so long since I've heard all this, and they're practicing. And we were talking about some of the stuff they were doing, because I did that from the time I was 12 to the time I was 19. And then I was like, man, I used to love the skill at arms competition. That was pretty much a weekend in the bush. You did knots and lash, like all that stuff. And I inquired a few questions. They're like, yeah, well, we still have that, but they took out all the fun stuff. Like, we don't do night nav because they don't want someone to trip. We don't do shooting anymore. We don't do this. We don't do that. And I was like, wow, this sounds like a really gay weekend in the woods compared to what it used to be. And like, it's changed so much. I was like, I was even thinking about going back to volunteer. And I was like, after I heard like shooting competition barely happens anymore, they barely do biathlon, all the cool stuff is gone. I was like, yeah, I don't have time for this anymore. It kind of sucks that they're taking that away, because man, there were some good times.
It's worse, man. It's worse than that, man. I was talking to a fella that was a volunteer when I was a cadet, and not CIC officer, just a volunteer.
Yeah.
Retired infantry guy. And I talked to him after I was in the regular army. And he was like talking about when he used to be a soldier, like 20 years prior. And he's like, did you do this yet? And I was like, nah. He's like, do you do this? No. What about this? No. I was like, so he had a lot of colorful and choice language to describe the army and how it had changed between when he was in it, when he got out, and when I got into it, and how the cadet program has deteriorated over time. But I will say, aerospace course in Saint Jean, I have a very special place in my memories for that program.
I don't disagree. That was the best 3 weeks of food, the best barracks, and I didn't have to do drill every day. I didn't have to wake up and go running down the road 3 kilometers before we went to go eat.
No, we PT'd like 3 times a week, and half of that was swimming.
Yeah, it was either swimming or like just you know what, do the best, like do something for a half hour, and then we'll
preparing all those air cadets for the life of luxury in the 5-star hotels.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, it was pretty cool. That kind of got me into physics a little bit. Like, I somehow, when I was in 11th grade, you know how you pick your own classes? I'm assuming I might have done what is used to be illegal, but is now legal, and the government shit the bed on selling. And when I picked my classes, and I somehow ended up in a 12th grade physics class.
It happens.
And yeah, apparently. And I mean, I still got like an 83. And they're like, did you do 11th grade physics? I was like, no. They were like, well, how did you get vetoed for this program? I was like, I have no clue. So I stuck with the course, and I still did okay, right? Because 80% of physics is all math equations, right? Like, you have a formula, find X, Y,
the
or
vast
Z.
majority of physics is just
Right?
math.
So I was like, okay, well, math is the one thing I was really good at school at, because it's all formulas. I was like, this is, find this, you have this information. So I figured it out. But yeah, no, that program kind of got me intrigued into that of elaborating the science. And then I said, fuck it after that, because I'm not nerdy enough.
Well, there you go. Well, if you went to Cadets and didn't get to do shooting classes or night nav and stuff like that, shoot us an email. Maybe we can make that happen for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Andrew? Is he frozen?
I don't know. My internet's kind of glitchy, so it's happened a few times.
I think we've lost Andrew.
Okay. Well, how did that lane nav go?
It was good. One of I don't want to give anything away, but one of our listeners was there on the weekend, and it was a lot of fun. It was a small class, but it was a lot of fun, and I think everyone learned a lot. So it's good.
That's awesome.
Oh, is it back?
Yeah, I believe you're back. Yes.
Oh, good. I really hope that recorded and didn't drop out.
It said that I got the pop-up saying that recording stopped and then immediately recording started again. So you're good.
Oh, good. So I just have to fix the part where I was talking to myself for a minute. That's fine.
Yeah.
We'll do that in post.
Yeah, but that's no different than any other episode.
We should go back to the show notes, because I'm probably just going to call this like Pierre and Andrew talk about Saint Jean sur Richelieu.
Well, that's fair.
Animals have COVID now. Well, animals have vaccines or are going to be getting vaccines.
Yeah, the whole thing started because some guy ate a bat. Of course, animals have
SARS-CoV-2, which I didn't understand the distinction for this. So I guess animals can get SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus that causes COVID-19. I thought SARS-CoV-2 was just the technical name for COVID-19.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that animals can. We've kind of known this.
I don't know, but I have a feeling all this started is because season 2 of Tiger King came out,
which was not as good as season 1.
I haven't watched.
Ozzy has been eating bats for decades and is fine. Yeah. I mean, okay,
yeah.
Maybe Ozzy's not fine, but Ozzy's not sick. I mean,
not
okay.
Dead.
Well, he doesn't have COVID.
Right,
he doesn't have
COVID.
He doesn't have
COVID.
Dead.
Yeah. And if he does, it's completely unrelated to him eating bats. Yeah.
So I've got a twofer here in the stack.
Yeah.
A week ago. This is a week ago. Yeah. December the 1st. This is in global news. COVID-19 virus found in 3 Quebec deer, Canadian officials say. And I was like, that sounds a little familiar. And I went back and I checked my old notes for stories we never talked about. The Toronto Zoo is planning to vaccinate its animals against COVID-19, and that goes back to October the 21st. So it seems that there is a SARS-CoV-2 vaccine that is available for zoos in America to prevent their animals, particularly mammals, but other animals as well, from catching the COVID. So Quebec is saying that they have got deers that have got COVID. U.S. Department of Agriculture says they found SARS-CoV-2 antibodies in 40% of the deer that they had tested, of which there were almost 400 in New York, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Illinois, which, for those of you in podcast land, constitute part of the northeastern United States, which is close to Quebec. So Quebec says that they've got deer that have also tested positive for SARS-CoV-2, which is, as far as I can tell, COVID-19. I'm at a loss to understand what the difference between those two things are, because I'm pretty sure
maybe it's like HIV and AIDS. It's like they're the same thing, but they're different.
Nah. So you're saying this is some gay shit?
Well, I mean, it's certainly some COVID shit.
All right, fair enough.
So, who swabbed deer?
I want to know how you got them to stick a thing up their nose.
Well, hopefully it was the nose. Yeah.
30-6 to the lungs, or hard to do that. But
Well, and our
Well, but then
Ministry
you
of the
could chalk
Environment
up another
and Climate
COVID
Change.
death. Okay.
Ministry
exactly.
of the Environment and Climate Change does say that we should be careful when we're hunting deer. Wear your well-fitting mask.
Has
When you're
anyone told
supposed
the
to-
deer that they need to be wearing a mask?
Where are you
Yeah.
going to get a deer-shaped mask?
Well, it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
Are they not doing their part?
No,
But they
they're
can
deer.
roam
They're
around
deer, and
free.
they're in Quebec. They're doing the opposite of their
Wait.
part and charging Alberta for it.
Wait, so hold on. What if the deers cross over into New Brunswick? Are they allowed in a grocery store?
No, well, you got to do your test on day 1 and your test on day 18, and have somewhere to stay for the 2 weeks.
Well, but what if they're getting their vaccine and then they'll have their papers and then they can go in the grocery
Oh
store?
yeah, then it's fine. You just
Okay,
got to do the
okay.
nose swab.
Yeah, okay.
But
That's
are
good.
they allowed to take the road from Quebec and go to the States and not have
That's
to
a good
prove
question.
the paperwork? Right? Because like, or is it a one-way street? Kind of
Maybe that's how the deer got into Quebec.
It depends on how you interpret the safe third country. Is
or the safety
Quebec
word?
Is Quebec a third country?
I mean,
Mm.
no offense to our francophone listeners, but I mean my preference is that Quebec does separate, because it would make the drive to the New Brunswick 2 days shorter.
Yeah.
What do you mean 2 days? How long do you
I
drive
don't
to
drive very
fucking
fast.
Quebec? Apparently, do you walk?
Have you seen the traffic?
Eight
Have you
hours,
seen
9
have you
hours to get through Quebec.
Have you
Have
seen
you
the
gone
traffic?
to Montreal?
Yeah. The 20 and the 40 where they meet is
Oh, yeah.
fucked.
No. So next time you go through Quebec, pay the $2-3, or you're driving through Quebec. Pay the $2-3 and take the 30 fucking toll road. You'll avoid Montreal traffic like there's no tomorrow.
Okay, well I'll bear that in mind. In the meantime, their Ministry of Environment and Climate Change says that SARS-CoV-2 can affect many animals, including mink, cats, dogs, ferrets, zoo animals, tigers, lions, and bears. Oh my! Gorillas, cougars, rawr, otters, and other animals.
What kind of cougars? Like the ones at the bar or the ones in the
Rawr.
woods?
Well, I imagine it's like the Def Leppard variety.
Yeah. Otters
So-
are a thing in the gay community as well. So
Of course they
So-
are.
Is there a problem with me eating a deer that has? I mean, as long as I don't eat the lungs, I should be good.
So yes, but no. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says that that it is possible to transmit SARS-CoV-2 between species, and the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change says that there are no confirmed cases where a deer has given a person SARS-CoV-2. But also wear your mask.
while
So-
you're eating the deer.
Yes,
Yeah.
and or no. I'm very unclear
So-
about this.
So a friend of mine actually was joking about something about COVID and pets and stuff like that on the Book of Faces. And I seem to recall, like, from the beginning of this pandemic, that like this was a thing that people had talked about, and like you had to be worried about your pets getting it because your pets could transmit it and all of that nonsense. So I looked into it a little bit. And according to the Government of Canada website, which I trust about as much as the CBC, which is to say I don't at all, it's one in the same. They were saying that it's possible for dogs to get COVID, but they cannot pass it on to people or to each other. It is possible for cats to get it and pass it on to other cats. Mink, however, are the only ones, it seems, that can get it and pass it on not to just other mink, but back to people as well. So I guess there was something at the beginning where a bunch of people were going out and killing minks, and not just for their
So-
fur coats.
We need a mink apocalypse.
Yes.
And I need a new
So-
jacket.
Yeah.
If I identify as a dog, does that mean if I get it, I can't transmit it? Everything's good. I don't need my vaccine.
As long as you make sure to use the
Yes.
correct pronouns to go along with your new identity. Yes.
You can refer to me as bitch from now on.
Perfect.
Well, good. You're trans species and gender. That's
Yeah.
Well, you'll be
Whatever
happy
will-
to know that the Toronto Zoo will be securing the COVID-19 vaccine for their various animals as they become eligible in Canada. They already exist in the US, so we're just getting them here. And
Ridiculous.
So we got all the
my favorite
paperwork. We're
part,
gonna
my
sit
favorite
on
part
it
of
for
this
2
whole
weeks.
thing, my favorite part of this whole thing, aside from the 29-year-old orangutan that is pregnant in Toronto, apparently the Toronto Zoo has trained a number of their animals to receive vaccines. I should say injections.
Don't they just get
particularly.
the fucking trank gun and just shoot them from a distance?
No, so apparently they've trained a bunch of their animals to receive injections. Like, I guess they do it on a regular basis. Toronto is a weird place, man.
Like I'm sure that there are
How-
a number of like vaccines that animals need to get, especially when they're in captivity with other animals, because that's just the thing that they do. But like, why would you train? Like, just you go and you just give them the shot, or you trank gun them from a distance.
Well,
But, like-
I don't know, but the head of the Toronto
Also-
Zoo says that primates, cats, swine, bats, and Mustatoodla, which includes weasels, badgers, otters, ferrets, and martins. I didn't know martins were a thing, but okay. They are all going to be getting their COVID-19 vaccines.
So okay, so
So are
don't
Are
the
the
animals in cages that keep you more than 6 feet apart, other than I guess in Cincinnati where kids fall into the enclosure with the gorillas, but like
I don't know. I'm very confused about this. Deer get COVID and Toronto zoos are vaccinating their animals.
clown world, man, it's clown world.
so I make my own bullets. If I put a little dab of the COVID vaccine in the bullet tip, I plan on shooting the deer with. I'll be safe, right?
I mean, you won't be less safe.
But you won't be any more dangerous, or will you?
It's hard to say. It's really hard to say.
All right.
Yeah, clown
So,
world, man.
I'm just curious, right? Like the Toronto Zoo have got a few animals that are like been trained to take shots or whatever. How many
Apparently.
How many junky animals are at the fucking Toronto Zoo?
Well, I
I
guess
mean, it's
whatever's
Toronto,
on
all
that.
of them.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I can tell you that the zoo in Albania had a monkey that would smoke cigarettes.
I'd pay to see that.
I feel like if you went to the Toronto Zoo, you could probably find more than one animal that would also smoke cigarettes or meth.
And probably
'Cause it's
other stuff.
Toronto.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of cigarettes and meth,
Apparently, we're going to the Toronto Zoo soon, and we're gonna check
Yeah.
this shit out. Walk around with a pack of smokes, throw it to everybody with a pack of matches. See how many of them figure it out.
there's some weird stuff at the Toronto Zoo. Like we took my son pre-COVID, and I don't think he was old enough to understand what was going on. But like, they have raccoons in an enclosure. They have like a couple of elephants. There's a giraffe. There's some bats. It's a very weird zoo.
Yeah, like I've taken my daughter to a little zoo not too far, and I've gone to the Biodome in Montreal.
The
'Cause I live
biodome's
close
Did you see
enough to the
Pauly
dark
Shore?
side.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I didn't.
him and the good ball.
But but right, like yeah, we took her when she was fairly young, and maybe if I showed her a picture, she'd remember. So I'd eventually kind of like to go, but at the same time, I absolutely hate zoos or anything that like, So there's that fine line I want to play where do I take her back or explain to her why I hate zoos or
Both.
animal entrapments? Right? Like
I
she's
mean, I get like, I get both sides of it. Like, yeah, like it kind of sucks keeping them up in pens and stuff like that, but also like, fuck them. Like, we're people.
and you
I
can
wanna-
inspire kids. You can inspire people to want to help those animals and become pets
there is some
whatever, right?
There is some good conservation stuff that can be done with them.
Yes,
and some educational stuff. I mean, I don't know. I like the biodome. I thought that was cool, but
yeah, it's kind of cool. You walk through
movie, but it was okay.
Oh no, the movie is top notch, man. Pauly Shore's best, other than Encino Man.
No, the best Pauly Shore movie is the one where he trained to become the water tech for the U.S. Army.
In the Army now?
No.
Is that what it was called?
It was definitely Encino Man is the best one. Then Biodome.
In the
and
Army
then I
now.
would say In the Army Now or Son-in-Law are up there as well.
Yes. Yeah. I kind of just want, even if I shoot it backwards, I want to shoot one of those fucking rockets like in that movie. Blow up one of their doom buggies. I'm down. Let's do it.
I think 1 month we need to do, instead of a book review, a movie review, and we'll do Top Gun because we've always talked about
there
it.
You go.
But also a Pauly Shore movie. Just cause.
We're not doing the new Top Gun, right? Or is the new Top Gun? Oh God,
no! The Top Gun that I've seen 40 times, the original Top Gun.
If the new Top Gun ever comes out.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if it's come up, but I heard they were remaking Top Gun.
No, they're not.
And they're gonna shit the bed.
It's not a remake. It's a sequel. It has Tom Cruise in it.
He's still short.
Yes, he's still very short.
Scientology didn't do that good for him.
He was still inverted. It's like
to be a manlet.
I don't know. Maybe we can get him on the show and find out.
Tom Cruise, have your people talk to our people.
Yeah.
We'll get you a booster seat. Come on, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Last article in the news this week. I was going to do a segue earlier, but it got, I don't know, destroyed. House of Commons set to get bill from Liberals changing drug criminal laws. This is in CTV News. It's very poorly written, but in a turn of events that should shock no one's, the government is going to be reducing sentences, moving more criminals to house arrest, counseling, or treatment, provided those people don't don't pose as a threat to public safety. Jesus Christ, how much alcohol is in these things?
Not enough.
Or too much. I feel like I'm really losing my words here.
Good bang for your buck.
I don't know.
Oh shit, 8%. That'll do it. Okay,
Jesus,
a couple of those. I'm like, I feel a little bit more buzzed than I should. But yeah, okay, a couple of those at 8%, I can. Oh, maybe that's why.
That'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, low risk and first time offenders, instead of being imprisoned, they're going to get a different sentence because, in an unsurprising turn of events, our justice system disproportionately affects people of Indigenous or Black heritage.
So I'm curious. Do they mean the Indigenous and the Black people get caught easier?
Yes, that is how
I mean, that's the spicy takeaway from this.
I don't even think that's spicy. I'm
not even saying that they're.
If the justice system disproportionately imprisons or otherwise entraps, entraps is maybe not the right word because that has a specific legal connotation. Yeah. But if Indigenous and Black persons are more likely to be ensnared in our justice system, is that because they're more likely to be caught or because they're more likely to commit crimes and then be caught? And in either case, we're going to have criminal reforms to instead put these people under house arrest or otherwise.
This is the thing that I don't get about the whole thing. So because we're treating people unfairly by having mandatory minimums, we need to remove those so that everybody can get a different sentence in order to treat everybody equally.
Yes.
Okay, so the white person will go to jail, and because Indigenous and Black, darker people are mentioned in this, they'll get house arrest.
It doesn't specifically say that the house arrest will be determined based on the amount of melatonin in your skin, but like, it also doesn't specifically say that it won't.
This is the thing that I
Like,
can't stand about
so-
our system, man. Like, and I've
Yeah.
said this before, like, let's just have a minimum and a maximum be the same thing. Like, you do X, you get
You
if
get
you're a
Y.
pedophile, you just go straight into the wood chipper.
I can get you a wood chipper.
I'm good with that. But like, if you commit a robbery of X amount
Straight
of
into
dollars,
the wood chipper.
you get X amount of prison time and or a fine of X amount of dollars. Then there's
Yeah.
no like randomness. It's like, you committed this act, you get this punishment. It's spelled out so that it's the same for everybody.
Your
Then there's
minimum
no,
is
you're
1
racist or
year.
you're this or that or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just like, there is no minimum, there's no maximum. It's just this.
Yeah.
You punch somebody in the
I can
face.
get behind that. They probably deserved it.
Well, yes, but like, if you get found guilty of assault, you get this. And like,
Well,
just
I guess that's the difference between punching somebody in the face and getting found guilty of assault, because those are not necessarily interchangeable.
Yeah, because I put salt on my fries all the time.
that's fair.
And I haven't been
Unsalted fries
charged
is
yet.
disgusting. But like, but you know what I mean? Like,
Can I make
you
a
can
suggestion as a
clearly
total
define-
aside? Potassium chloride. It tastes like salt, but it actually just increases your potassium.
I tend to put seasoned salt on my pommes frites.
Oh, pommes
Instead of-
frites. Simple.
Instead of regular salt, I like
Seasoned
and then we
salt's
found a
pretty
new
good.
spice.
Wow.
We might be doing some cayenne pepper, and that we got to make some French fries. We're doing that tomorrow. I'll let you know how. it goes.
I have to agree with the Albertan on YouTube. Pedophiles, feet first into
Well,
the
but
wood
so
chipper.
that could be the difference, right? Like, if you just murder somebody, you could go head first, but if it's a kid, it's feet first, right? Like, that way there's different punishment.
I don't
No.
think anybody on the panel is
No.
going to disagree with that. If you do stuff to children, like
No, it
really,
don't matter what you
really
do.
small knives.
If you get anything that requires you to go into the chipper, I'll get you a chipper that has a panic bar where you can like feed them an inch at a time and hit the panic bar and it'll stop. It won't feed them anymore. And then you
I
can
just
hit
wanted
the
to
button.
feed them slowly.
Yeah.
Just put a gear
Like, it's an
reduction on
auto
it, so it
feed,
just slows it right
right?
down.
Yeah, it's an auto feed. So like you throw them in there and you forget about it for, 20,
Yeah.
30 seconds. I mean, buddies all over the fence.
Can we make it 20, 30 minutes? Like, is there a...
Because of that panic bar, we can't. Right? You
I'm
hit
sure
the
we
thing,
could figure
and
it out.
that's if for when people feed in a big branch and it gets caught in their leg or it grabs them weird, you hit the panic button and it instantly stops the feed. The blade's still going, but it stops the feed. So, and then you can push the button, and then you
Might-
can make it last all
Might
day. buddy.
have a use for those. Might have
Yeah.
a use for those. I feel like we could do criminal justice reform in this country a lot more effectively than the government does.
Yeah, but they seem
know
to
how
do it
many
in the most
episodes of
ridiculous
CSI?
way that, like, they're trying to make everything equal by making it unequal. Like, that's the whole premise is fucked up from the beginning. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Man, nothing in Clown World makes sense. That's
Well,
the
I
whole
know,
point.
but like, it's so annoying because it's like, oh, people are getting treated unfairly, so let's make it so that everybody gets a different sentence based on. It's like, no, that's not how you do something fairly. If you commit X crime, you get X punishment. That's it.
Well, let me do one more thing. We don't have any more stories. I'm just disappointed with the Liberal government changing drug and criminal law.
Yeah, but
We
thank
have
God all
listener
those guns are
feedback.
off the
If-
street.
If you want to send us a comment or a email or something that we can read on the show and discuss, feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Even your thinly veiled marketing requests will probably be read on the show.
Even not so thin.
Thickly veiled? Is there
There's been a few that are. It's pretty obvious that this is just a marketing thing, but we'll read it anyways because someone took the time to write the show.
So this is from John. Subject is 17 HMR. John writes, I currently have 12 plus firearms in my collection, which may or may not include several that I have recently lost in a boating accident. I was wondering the panel's perspective on purchasing a 17 HMR of the Savage variety. Your thoughts and takes on the caliber would be greatly appreciated. This email sent from the Texas of Canada, also known as Alberta. That comes to us from John.
I didn't know the states forgot about Texas often. Or at least their president did.
You talk to Americans, Texas is a big deal.
Yeah, but in Canada, our prime minister forgets about Alberta.
Forgets or specifically includes? Or excludes?
Excludes?
Yes.
Yeah, but potato. Okay.
Well, I mean, is it malicious?
Frites.
Is it malicious or is it unintentional? I think it's
malicious. Yes. So I guess for John, your 12 plus firearm collection, I mean, good on you. You're a super firearms owner because you have more than 12. Well done.
Allegedly, because if you have more than 10, you're a collector.
Right.
Yeah, but so from this, he used to have 12, but how he wrote the email, I think he potentially lost some in a boating accident. So for all you know, he only has one.
Fair. Yeah.
Well, let's go into the 17 HMR thing. So 17 HMR, rimfire caliber. It has a purpose. I'm not a huge fan of it. Can't use it for the things I do. Does it shoot really fast and really flat for a rimfire caliber? Absolutely. Does it also cost as much as 223? Yes. Would I rather shoot an actual rifle, centerfire rifle caliber for that price? Also, yes.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what your specific use case is, John, and from this, I'm going to say, as with most things, it's adult underpants. It depends. Are you going to shoot rabbits with it? 17 HMR versus 22 long rifle? I don't know that it matters for small game hunting. 17 HMR is faster and flatter, but I mean, rabbits is just a shot.
Yeah, but that all depends. Is he planning on shooting a rabbit at 150 yards? Because from his back deck, he's got a nice opening at 150 yards where 20 rabbits sit there all day.
Yeah,
and
but I mean,
it's a lot easier, right? Like it's
decent 22 ammo. I mean, we're hitting targets out at 300. Now they're a little bit bigger than a rabbit, but I mean, at 100 yards with a decent 22. I mean, Ely force is 1,300 feet per second at 42 grains. That'll take a rabbit.
Yeah, no.
Right. So I don't know what the use case is for the 17 HMR. I mean, Savage generally makes great rifles. If their 17 line is like their 22 line, then
I believe it's the same gun. It's just chambered in 17 HMR versus 22.
I understand that. I have not compared specifically to see if there's something significantly different between 17 and 22 from the Savage line. Most of them, they look the same.
But that's what I mean. Like
that's not my.
It's going to be a Savage Mark II or a B-22 or whatever it is. It's going to be effectively the same gun with just a different bolt face. I mean,
I've heard fantastic. Like, I don't own a 17 HMR, but I know someone who has one, and they'll swear by it compared to a 22. But
I think it really depends on what you're gonna do with it. Because if you're gonna shoot CPRS or ORPS, which is my thing, because that's what I do with rimfire. I shoot competitive long range matches. You can't use a 17 HMR for those. You have to use a 22. So for my perspective, it provides me with no additional value. Now, if you're going to go hunt small game with it, maybe there's an option for that. And I mean, like the Albertan points out on YouTube, a 223 is going to do a better job on varmint class game than a 17
unless you're
HMR.
looking at something really small, again, like like a rabbit maybe, but
Yeah,
like
rabbit, squirrel. I don't know what else you would shoot with a 22 or a 17 HMR.
but I mean that's
But if you're going to get up to
probably
varmint caliber animals, then like I'm going to use an actual varmint caliber, like a 22 2 or
well
2
22
222 or
250
223 or
223 yeah
250. Yeah, there's better like
243. Yeah.
well if I'm going to shoot a fox or a coyote or something to that,
yeah like
Yeah.
I'm going to pick a larger, faster caliber. Maybe larger is not the right word. A heavier bullet going
Yeah.
faster over a 22 or a 17 HMR.
yeah I
So
would
what's
probably
a 17 HMR? Like 40 grains on average, 45 grains?
it's comparable to
Give or
like
take, yeah.
projectile size. I mean, it's almost a 22. It's just a little bit pointier, it seems, and faster.
So, I mean, if you can get away with a center fire, that seems like a better choice, like a 22 250 or a 222 or a 223.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe there's a circumstance where you can shoot rim fire but not center fire, and then maybe the 17 is the better compromise caliber.
Yeah. Like
But
I have a 22 250 and I bought like probably the cheapest guns for that one. I paid I think more for the scope than the gun for that thing. But if you're talking varmint here, like 22 250, I'll shoot all day, every day. No,
the Albertan saying
that
17
caliber.
to 17 to 20 grain projectile. So
that's less than a 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
stupid
But I mean,
light
it's going
and fast.
so I
Yeah,
don't know.
but
It
I mean,
seems
I would-
like it does
I
not
would go
appeal
with-
to
I would
me.
go with a
But again, it
22.
doesn't fill my use case as I do not hunt. I shoot competitively.
No.
I cannot use a 17 HMR to shoot competitively. So
Well, I mean,
won't.
you could probably do some silhouette shooting or something if you wanted.
But maybe. But the games
But-
I play and the type of shooting
Yeah.
that I do, it does not provide any
No.
value to me.
I just take a
Hunting,
22.
maybe there's a use case for it, but I don't.
I
can't
still
think of
agree
something
that
I would rather do with a 17 HMR over a less expensive 22 or a centerfire caliber that is better suited rather to shooting small game.
and that's the thing. If you're going for like really small game, a 22 will do it, and maybe not quite as well, but it'll do it. And like heavier, so then you can even get into something that's a little bit bigger. Or you're going to just step up to a proper center fire, because like what's the advantage of the 17 HMR other than that it's a little bit faster and flatter?
Well, that's the
nothing.
thing is it's
Like,
faster and flatter, but is it faster and flatter than a 22 250? Is it faster than a
Well, but I mean, like,
222
so
or a
like
223?
if your whole thing is because it's rimfire, so you can have like actual capacity magazines, then so does a 22, and you just get like, stingers or something else to get that velocity. So if you want higher velocity ammo that's going to shoot a little bit flatter, you can do that on a 22, and it might not be quite the same, but like, I mean, those stingers get moving pretty good and they're a fairly light bullet.
Yeah.
Or you get something like the Ely Force that's fast and heavy, and then you've got more force overall. So, I mean, unless there's a specific reason that you are, I don't know, I'd have to see what
If
the
you're limited
ballistics
to
are.
rim fire and you want to spend the money,
And if you're
go nuts.
shooting at like various distances and the drops on a 17 HMR are insignificant, so that you can just kind of zero your scope for somewhere in the middle and just put it on the thing and pull the trigger, then absolutely do that, because that makes sense. But otherwise, I would just go with a 22 or step up into a center fire.
Yeah, that's my take too. And you already have 12 firearms in your collection. It sounds like you probably have purpose specific firearms. So
I doubt
maybe
you
there's
have 12 plus only 22 rifles.
Well, that's what I mean. Like once you get up to like I've got
like
15 guns. Well, I've got a couple of shotguns. I've got a couple of rifles. Maybe I've got a couple of handguns. Maybe I've got some semis. Maybe I've got things that I just hunt with. You
want a 17 HMR because it's like, I don't have one. What do you think? If you got the money and you want to spend it, fucking have at her, buddy. But if you're looking at, well, I need a rimfire caliber for hunting or anything else.
22.
22. No answer for
That said,
but if
all
you're
that
just
said,
like, I don't
Savage,
have one, what do you think?
Savage makes
Spend the
great
money,
guns.
go for it.
Yeah.
Go,
You know?
like, I can... Rimfire, if the 17 HMR Savages are anywhere near as good as the 22 model Savages,
Right.
you can't go wrong. Go nuts. Get a B22 or a
No.
Mark II or whatever the 17 HMR equivalents of those are, and
No.
have at her, bud.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you won't go wrong with a Savage, especially in their rimfire stuff. Like they're
No.
some of the best.
Particularly if it's one of the Lakefields that's made here in Ontario.
Yeah.
No. If you got
Like
stupid about
5
buying,
minutes
buy a
down
Tikka
the
one,
road from a very, very liberal university.
That in itself is worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right down the street, like on the continue on that, there's a really nice ice cream shop.
but so
Having with the local
does-
knowledge.
does my barrel come with liberal tiers in it?
I hope so.
We can make that happen.
I'd pay
Allegedly.
double. I'd pay double for that. Just saying.
We have book club coming up the first Monday of the month. No, wait, that's wrong. The last Monday of the month. That's better. The last
Yes.
Monday of the month is book club, as it has been for 2 years. Oh my God, we've been doing book club for 2 years. Oh
A lot of
boy.
reading.
I've read a couple of books. I've even finished some of them. They didn't even have pictures.
I have crushed my
French?
reading goal this year.
In French,
No,
it's
in
pronounced vinquette.
C'est bon. Ça c'est vrai. Je suis un ananas. J'habite dans la maison de petit pamplemousse.
Un bon pamplemousse, c'est pas mauvais.
C'est bon. Then I just have to start again. December's book, Small Unit Leader's Guide to Counterinsurgency, the official United States Marine Corps manual, which I absolutely cannot put down. I am on my second read through it. And man, there were some good ideas in that book.
Is it good? Like, I ordered mine recently and it hasn't showed up yet.
Well,
Like-
I watched Amazon as it was ticking down, and it's like, there are 12 copies left in stock. Order now to get it by the end of the month. There are 10 copies. Order now to get it before. There are 6 copies. Order now to get it by or there is 1 copy left. Order now to get it by the new year. And it was like, yeah, I was watching the ticker go down because I'm sure it's our people that are ordering it from Amazon, but
Yeah,
it
no,
is-
like I ordered mine like either last night or the night before. Because my wife was like, "Did you order your book?" I was like, "No," but I was like, I know it's a short book, so I like don't need it at the beginning of the month because I'm very slow at reading. But I was like, it's a fairly easy book, so I was like, not a lot of pages. I was like, from the title, it doesn't sound too complicated because they made it for the Marines and they eat crayons, right? So I'm like, we should be good for like, even if I got to read it in like 3 days, it's like they're probably a lot of pictures and easy words, right?
I don't know
Like-
about a lot of pictures. There's some diagrams for sure, not a ton,
Yeah.
but it's not. It is not a complicated read because it is.
Yeah.
They have tried to simplify it for a 20-year-old kid that's got a couple of guys that he works with that he's responsible for to understand how to deal with an insurgency, what to do, and.
Yeah.
There are some things we can infer from that.
Well, I'm ecstatic to read this book, and
It's good. I'm on my second read through it. I got my post-it note collection out, and it's going well.
I got a feeling I'm
January-
gonna put post-it notes on it.
There you go, good man. Are you like me? Are you the kind of person you can't write in a book?
I have no problems writing in a book. It's just I'm really shitty at writing. That post-its are better.
I have a real problem writing in books, so I do everything on post-it notes.
Oh.
January, we're going to do the True North Tradecraft Disaster Preparedness Guide, a primer on urban and suburban disaster preparedness. And that's from our friend Boris, who was on the show recently. So we're going to get prepared, give the copycat CPP a run for their money. We'll have to work on our dad jokes.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I got this well in hand.
Yeah, we will, however, include a CO2 warning or an O2 warning, because carbon monoxide is the silent killer.
I think it's just a CO. O2 is just oxygen. CO is
O2
carbon
can kill you as well.
dioxide. No, carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
Man,
CO.
grade 11 chemistry is almost as long ago as grade 11 physics was.
See, that's why I skipped 11 and just went to strict 12 physics. I didn't have to deal with this shit. You guys figure it out. Let me know.
Yeah. No.
Well, let's go around. Pierre, where can everybody find you?
You can find me nowhere, but if you would like,
well, let's say they wanted a shirt.
Okay, you get Off the Wall Customizing. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Clap, a bunch of other stuff my wife figured out, or Off the Wall Customizing at gmail.com.
Yeah.
I'll say 90% of the time you're probably dealing with her, because I don't have access to Facebook, Instagram, all the stuff she set up. But whatever she says goes. Yeah, whatever she says goes, and if you don't like it, I'll fight you.
That's fair.
Yeah. So yeah, offthewallcustomizing.com or whatever socialist medias look for us. She figured it out. I can't figure it out. What she says goes.
Marketing model. Whatever my wife says, that's the way it is, and I will fight you over it. Gavin, where can everyone find you?
My parents didn't raise no fool.
When I'm not in a woods, learning how to navigate to my other friends that are in a woods to drink beer clandestinely, you can find me on the Instagram, UrbexGTA.
All right. If you've listened to all of our nonsense thus far, you deserve a discount code. Go to ragnaroktactical.ca. When you're checking out, use the code Patriot at checkout. Save yourself some money. You're literally taking money out of my kids' college fund, but that's okay. You've listened to us, so you deserve a discount code. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaka. We couldn't get Rod on the show tonight. We did try. If you want to try and get Rod on the show, though, please contact the CCFR. Ask for Rod. Tell him that Andrew from Canadian Patriot Podcast sent you. Let him know that the people demand that Rod make time to get on CPP, talk to you about firearm stuff. Maybe he can give his opinion of 17 HMR. If you want to send us feedback, you can do that through email. feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. And I haven't asked for it recently, but I feel like it's due. If you're on YouTube, click the like and subscribe button. Give us the little thumbs up and then subscribe to the channel. If you're using a podcast app, go get iTunes. If you don't have iTunes installed, leave us a review. I'd prefer a 5-star review, but I will take literally any review at this point. And if you're using a different podcast app, if you can leave a review on there. All of those things help us spread the message and don't cost you anything. Much like using our Amazon affiliate link. When you're buying books, if you click the link in our show notes, or you go to our website and click the link to go to Amazon, and then you buy stuff, we get money from that. It doesn't cost you anything. If you share the show with your friends or click the like button or leave us a review, it doesn't cost you anything but your time, and it helps other people find the show and helps people find us. If you do want to just directly give us money, the best way to do that is to go to Patreon and you get a better quality version of the show, or once you sign up to the correct tier, you get a free t-shirt. I mean, free. You're paying for a subscription for the better quality version of the podcast, but I will mail you a t-shirt that Pierre and his wife probably made.
Yes.
So if you can do those things, that would be super cool. If you can't do those things, I understand, but I will ridicule you shamelessly until you leave us a review or send me money.
Yeah. Feel free to also send feedback to other podcasts and tell them how awesome we are. We encourage that too.
If you want to email another podcast with a review about us and try to get them to read it, that would be super cool, because I have definitely read reviews of other shows on our podcast, and I have read reviews of our show that have been submitted to other podcasts.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street. The sword will cut both ways.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you send an email about not liking anything I say or do by Saturday, I'll get really drunk and give you my honest opinion on the show. Just saying.
So if you're submitting feedback for Pierre, also include an 8.5 by 11 headshot so that he can pick on you.
Yeah.
No, I don't need a picture. Just be very thorough about what you don't like.
I was really looking forward to
I'll take care of the rest.
I wanted Pierre to pick on them for how they present.
Yeah. Like roast me, bro. And then
But if that's what you want, I'll do it. But
that's what I want.
Yeah.
Not of me, I'm sensitive, but like just generally.
If people don't want their picture out there, right? So I won't roast them, but like be honest, and I will sleep okay if you cry all night. Just saying.
I mean, that's fair. We apologized to Rod, right? I took care of that?
Yeah.
Okay. For all of our listeners and enemies out there in podcast land and at various government agencies, I'd like to remind most of you that you are the true North, strong and free.